All right, so we are live. Guys, so we have Eric, Greg, Jeremy, and Phil, and myself, Derek. We're going to be here talking about Queen and the work of Freddie Mercury and its cultural impact. So, guys, why don't you guys get us started?
Woohoo!
Yes!
Where does one begin?
I am wicked excited, you guys.
All right,
Mr. Mercury is there never, in my history, I was born in 1974, and in the history of my life, I don't think I've ever seen anyone have as much of a crossover appeal as well as a universal breakthrough artist such as Freddie Mercury. I grew up surrounded by moronic straight guys who would bully me for dyeing my hair blonde, but thought that Freddie Mercury was the straightest, coolest guy they've ever seen. And I was like, bro, really? Really? So, Freddie Mercury got away with more shit than Prince does. So, he can wear feather boas and leather jackets, and people were like, oh no, he's not into kink. All right, bro. He's amazing. That's my start off piece. Yeah. He's that crossover. He just did things that other people couldn't. Opened up doors no one could unlock.
All right, Eric?
I think for me, I think a lot of people have a touch point with Freddie Mercury. I think that Queen as a band was so prolific and so profoundly out there. The music that they produced was so phenomenal that it just really opened people's hearts and expectations. Like there was just listening to something like Bohemian Rhapsody and hearing 27-part harmonies, from one person basically, just blew people away. And I think that, when I was in high school in the 90s, when Wayne's World was the shit, everyone was listening to Bohemian Rhapsody constantly. I don't think that that Queen or Freddie Mercury ever really faded into obscurity. I think that they've always been a part of the cultural musical landscape.
Jeremy?
Well, I was born in '83, so I kind of missed a lot of it when it was actually happening. But I stumbled across my dad's records of Queen, and that was kind of one of the first things that got me into them. And Freddie Mercury was always, by that point, I knew he was gay, and he was just a different kind of gay dude that you were used to seeing on TV and in media at the time. And it was just really cool to kind of see somebody different, more masculine, and I don't know, it was strange to see a lot of straight people that were just like, yeah, he's the coolest, toughest dude in the world. And it was kind of badass. I dressed up as Freddie Mercury for Halloween a couple times with Derek. And
I was there.
rock star parties.
Yeah, I was very good, but I ended up looking more like Borat.
That was such a good party, though. It really was. The best was Spinal Tap by far.
Yeah.
And they've always been one of my favorite bands. Freddie Mercury has been really awesome, but I guess that's it. I always keep tabs on them.
Perfect. Phil?
Well, I was born in '83, so kind of the same sort of situation. They weren't chart topping at the time, but my parents always listened to them, and they were always kind of around, always heard them. So I never really thought about Freddie Mercury in that aspect till I was a teenager, and someone actually had said to me that Freddie Mercury was gay, and I thought, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then I had so many people that were extremely homophobic around me and I just couldn't understand that Queen was their favorite band, and they were so incredibly fucking homophobic. So it was just like one of those crossover things where like it didn't matter what your personal beliefs were. It was like he was able to break through and just reach those people. It was absolutely phenomenal. So.
Ooh, can I build on what he said really
Yes.
quick about it's kind of like when you meet horrifically racist people, but their favorite basketball player is Michael Jordan. Or their favorite artist is Michael Jackson. And you're like, bro, they are black too. Like, you know what I mean? You have to like break it in for people. Like, they'll take Freddie Mercury and be like, oh, he's amazing, he's cool, he's in a band. But the gay dude down the street.
What kind of fills out that leather?
Do you know what I'm saying? It's a way for people will take a celebrity and separate them from them in who they are, and they'll let a celebrity run around in fishnet stockings and a boa and never say anything, but you know the guy down the street gets frosted tips and let's beat him up. Like I totally see what you mean. It doesn't make it's people do a lot of people do that with all sorts of minority groups where they'll separate the famous celebrity from their cultural minority group and then be like, no, dude, they're the same thing. It's just different. One has, so one person has more money than the other. There's not a difference.
Like the majority of any small town rap fan that's white.
Yep.
Incredibly racist, but listens to nothing but rap and country.
It doesn't make no sense.
Country.
You can't hate
Down,
Obama. You can't hate Obama and love Kanye. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that.
I want to kind of open up another kind of line of questions if I could, because one of the things that we're talking about is this like weird dichotomy that people have between listening to Queen and kind of like separating themselves from the queerness of it. I wonder if a part of that separation, that distance, was because it was a product of the time. Like the 1980s, I mean, like queer culture wasn't on full display. I mean, it was still kind of like in urban enclaves and places like that where people really kind of knew gay people. So like rural America and like, places that were like really homogenous and distant from queer culture probably didn't have the same kind of touchstones for something like seeing leather dudes on bikes, like as a queer icon, like they didn't have that Tom of Finland reference or like that culture of underground kink leather. So I wonder if that is like a big factor in why Queen was so popular and that people just didn't get the queerness.
I think people didn't get it, and I think that he liked that they didn't get it, so I think he almost toyed with it a lot, but never fully came out as being gay, like, until the day before he died. Yeah. So it kept people kind of guessing, but then again, gay people were like, whoa, he's totally gay.
That's one of the things I wanted to bring up in this conversation as well. It's like, did Freddie need to come out, or was he just saying, guys, the whole time, like, guys, I'm queer. Listen to my music. Watch my videos.
I think usually when you come out, it's because the heterosexuals in your life haven't caught on yet. Because all the gay people are always like, girl, really? But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're gay, you're always the last one to know out of your gay friends. But like, or your mom. Your mom guesses, like, when you walk out the womb. Like, I don't know what it is. But like, a lot of times when we come out, it's just to kind of confirm it for straight people. Like, I've never had to softly confirm it to other gay people. They were just like, oh, no shit, I figured because you talked to me. It's but I'm also from a time when like, I mean, I'm 41 years old, so it's this whole like being gay and extremely gay in public is still new to me. And I mean, it's not that I've been closeted for like, I mean, I've been out since I was 23. So, that's a lot of out. That's out. But we're looking at this from a perspective of like coming out's weird. It's not cut and dry. It's hard to define it. It's a gray area of what coming out really is. Because when you come out, is it for you? Is it for the it's there's different coming out levels. Like, oh, guys, I'm gay. Oh, by the way, I like fat guys. Like, double coming out. You know what I mean? There's no...
Right. Well, I think also on top of that, Greg, if I could elaborate on that a little bit too, I think that we're talking about like the 80s and early 90s, like peak AIDS crisis, you know, like, and you know, coming out the day before you pass away is like super. That's a poignant moment, you know, as a part of that, you know, of that era, you know, like people didn't talk about being gay except for like after school specials and bullshit like that, you know. I mean, the 80s was super closeted, and though there was a lot of gender bending, it was still very new to people to be coming out.
My junior high was one of the junior highs that Ryan White looked at to go to school. If you guys know who he is, he got HIV from a blood transfusion.
Oh.
And then couldn't go to any schools because the administrations and the parents were pulling their kids out of school because he might give them AIDS by sneezing on them. You know, it was the first time that rural, white, middle-class, straight America had to deal with HIV. You know what I mean? Like, right in their faces. And have to tell a small child who, it wasn't from, like, having unprotected sex on the streets of New York. It was because he's a hemophiliac. You know what I mean? And I remember my mother saying to me that she would be afraid to let me go to school. And I'm like, we're not going to be blood brothers in the bathroom, Mom. Like, there's no problem. And I remember being more educated about it than her and being like, really? You went to college, lady? But it's that purveying ignorance that was kind of happening. And it was not even, it was fear, basically, you know?
Like, I remember Phil and Jeremy would definitely probably remember this. The Grassy Junior Highway back in the day had that episode where the one kid was HIV positive. Yeah. That was a huge, like, this was us in, like, 89, 90, like, learning about this and learning that it's where to accept tolerance from this.
Yeah.
They tackled a lot of. I mean, people reference the Degrassi HIV positive student like thing. They reference that as a very early. You guys, that's advanced. You know, Canadian television was very ahead of its time in terms of tackling that.
Degrassi was major for a lot of that stuff. I lived in the States and I showed people Degrassi and I was like, this is what I watched when I was a kid, and they were just like, holy shit, like I can't believe the stuff you guys were watching. Because in the early, I remember one of the first few episodes was about the kid's teacher being a lesbian, and this was like late 80s. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, they're marginalized characters too, like the gay son on Dynasty. Like, again, I was a little kid, but this is like this was a big deal that one of the Carringtons was like openly gay, and he would, the nasty shit people on that show that people would say to him used to make me so mad. But I'm like, no, this is a mirror. This is a mirror being held up to society, being like, this is how you treat people, you know. And then now that I'm older, I get it. Back then, I used to be like, fuck, you get it. You start yelling at the TV. It's like, but no, that's awesome. I can't remember like the actual topic, like which direction we were coming out. Was it TV show? Was it? I
don't know. We started talking about coming out and a double coming out. And then there's like talking about coming out HIV positive.
These are all things.
Tangent.
Freddie gives us all these avenues to discuss things. Does anybody know if the rumor that he used to bring Princess Di to gay clubs dressed as a drag queen, is that true?
I never heard it. I feel like I heard it
at the first.
It's a well-known like rumor that he was best friends with Princess Di and that he would dress her up as a drag queen and sneak her into gay clubs.
I think I saw even a photograph of that. Like so yeah, I think that was true, and that there was at least some kind of confirmation or evidence from somebody else. I think it was from Fergie, who confirmed it. Princess Diana Ferguson, not Fergie from Black Eyed Peas. But
Fergie.
I was like, wait a second.
Where is the love, man? How you gonna do? Younger kids, you could have fooled them with that Fergie thing for a couple months. You should have just said it was the chick from Black Eyed Peas.
That would be my favorite Fergie story, next to the one when she got kicked out of a bar in Halifax for puking on Pamela Anderson. But
Wow.
Well, she ended up passed out in the stairwell of some hotel.
yeah.
Supposedly.
This poor lady. So yeah, I mean, there's always been rumors about everybody, and that feeds back into he was already out probably to thousands upon thousands of people. Do you know what I mean?
Close friends, probably.
Right. Well, okay, so one of the memes that I keep seeing, like a recurring theme, is from bi people saying, oh, you can't say that Freddie was just gay, because he did have female relationships in his life, and, you know, he was really bi.
That's what I was
to say
going to
that
ask.
he was queer, to say that he was gay, was like bi erasure. So,
Was he bi then? I'm sorry, I apologize then if I was saying, because I had no knowledge of him having fulfilling female relationships. Like early in his career, I guess he had a girlfriend, but the last 6 albums he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple glances at his personal life on Wikipedia identifies a couple of ladies who were in there, you know, that Brian May introduced him to someone early on. I mean, Fat Bottom Girls is like, they point to that as like, oh, actually, you know. But, I mean,
Could have been a guy's.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's true.
Could have been girls with a U. Could have been something with a U.
Exactly. That's what I was going to
Fat
say.
bottoms, girl.
But no, I mean, that's something that keeps coming up. That at least I see it on Tumblr every once in a while. People pointing this out, that Freddie Mercury, you know, had relationships on both sides of the aisle. So, you know.
Well, I think that was a lot to do with Freddie Mercury trying to keep that illusion up that he was alluding to being gay, but not actually gay.
Because he would have admitted he was bi on his deathbed as opposed to gay. He wouldn't have had a problem. What did he have to be afraid of?
Exactly.
Like, am I, you know, I experimented in college and had sex with a couple chicks. Now am I bi for the rest of my life? Because that's not genuine.
Mm.
Right, Kinsey 5.99999.
Like what you know what I'm saying? Like it's and not that and I'm somebody that always remembers the L, the B, and the T because I'm the G, but I try to remember the other letters as much as I can in support, you know. But yeah, like I'm in the middle. If he is indeed bi, I will always say bi. But there's no. It's all theoretical. It's, you know, none of us can really. We have to go on what he said. He said gay, so we have to go by that, you know. We might think he's a turkey sandwich, but he said, yo, guys, I'm a ham sandwich. So we have to call him a ham sandwich. Do you know what I mean? It's what you identify as, not what we think you are. And that's kind of like the basis of understanding for the T. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can't kind of put a label on people because some people feel that you know what I mean? It's...
Well, I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the label that you put upon yourself. And if he labeled himself as gay at the end, then that's what he was. Bowie said he was gay in an article back in the, 60s or 70s, came out as gay, and then remarried a woman. Like, so, and then admitted later that he was bisexual and not gay. So I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the label that you actually put upon yourself, because that's how you truly feel.
Yeah.
Unless you're 14, 15, and just experimenting and trying to figure yourself out, or in college, whatever. But
yeah,
that late on in life, I would imagine that you would know who you are, especially to come out at such an awkward time, such a just rough time in general. So.
Yeah, and I think that there's a kind of a trope of people coming out as bi because they are too afraid to say that they're just gay, because bi is like just heterosexual enough for your family, but But not to say that that bi is fake. But so I know that this is a thing that a lot of people who have at one point come out and said that they were bi at one point, then later admitted that I was really just trying to feel out that I was really gay or not. And that could be part of it. It could also be part of stage persona. It could be part of any number of things.
Yeah, saying that you're bi to like parents and friends gives them a. Back in the day, before we had marriage and adoption, it's like giving mom false hope for that grandkid. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it was. But these days, you can be like, I'm gay and I'm about to adopt so many kids, it's gonna be a Benetton commercial. Like you know what I mean? Like you can say that now, and it's a little more realistic. But like coming out to my mom in like 1994, and I was like, yeah. No kids. You're not gonna. You're like in 1994. I figured I wasn't gonna be able to get married. I wasn't gonna be able to get kids. Like it's something you kind of admit to yourself when you see what goes on around you. But now it's totally different. So I agree. I knew a lot of people who were like, "Oh, I'm bi." I kind of said that to my mom so she'd shut up. Like that's basically it. You know what I mean? But there are people who are truly 50-50, and it's rough. I don't know if. I guess we're gonna just go on the consensus that Mr. Mercury was indeed whatever he said he was at the end. So I guess we're gonna go with that one because it's good. It's solid.
I like it.
Now we had Jake submitted a question here for us. Freddie Mercury made an impact on many people's lives. What sort of impact did he make on yours? Anybody?
I don't want to dominate this, but because I'm heavily opinionated. Somebody else talk. I don't want to dominate the conversation.
I don't know. I guess he would have kind of represented a different type of gay person to me when I was younger. So it kind of helped me realize there was more diversity out there than what you actually see on TV or in the media. So that was probably the biggest thing that I got from him.
For me, it was less about his sexuality and more just his artistry, especially compared to like the music that's being written nowadays, like a quick 2-minute pop song that takes 12 people to write versus Bohemian Rhapsody, which he wrote himself. Like, it's hard to find somebody that is doing well in a career that's that immensely talented, because there's usually so many other people behind the scenes that when they're standing alone on the stage, they're shit. They've got nothing to produce because they have all these people behind them that are doing this stuff for them. The only one that comes to mind would be I'd say like Lady Gaga, but and her stage name was inspired by Freddie Mercury, so that says a lot in and of itself. So
yeah.
Like, I've even seen one meme go up before. Like, I've seen the meme come up, somebody comparing Run the World Girls lyrics versus Bohemian Rhapsody's lyrics. Then someone else put another one up, putting the bicycle race lyrics. But just using the chorus line, which is just bicycle, bicycle, bicycle race, I want to ride my bicycle. But not paying attention to the actual core of, like, the anti-establishmentness of the actual verses themselves. That seems like Ballard is super genius in what he's actually saying in that song. Like, I don't give a fuck about anything else here. Just leave me alone to be by myself.
Well, again, a lot of times the casual music listener, attaches themselves to the chorus of most 4/4 timed recording because, let's face it, the average person enjoys the sound of a 4/4 time song. Unless you are a hardcore Tool fan like me and you're like, I want to listen to 9, 8, 9, 7 times signature music. You know what I mean? You're not, it's not something that you're like going to enjoy. The average person loves 4/4 timing, and that's why there's such a huge criticism about popular music by people who are artists and stuff, because you're like, that's easy, bro. Like, why do you like that? But it's because it feels good. It sounds good. It doesn't have to be, But with like the case of Freddie Mercury and making his own music and writing his own music, it was more common, I think, back then that there wasn't 150 stylists standing around somebody, going. Because I I'm original. I grew up and went to college in Albany and went to high school out there, and I knew Albany, New York, and there's a lot of emo bands, and I was huge into the emo scene. I was in a couple of bands at the time. I watched Planes Mistaken for Stars and a couple of other bands come out of the bar scene out there and actually like tour, and like I'm like, oh my god, I know that guy. He's a jerk. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was all. It was fun. I knew these guys in these other bands that were getting huge. And I was like, that's cool. They write their own stuff. They're just some dudes from the garage. Like I was there when they first played that first song. Like, and it's cool to see that. But I think nowadays, because of the conveyor beltness of putting out the next big music thing, it's hard to be a Freddie Mercury these days, even as much as you want to be. Like, I mean, we have Kesha, for instance. You know, people write her off, but in reality, she's written so much stuff for so many people, and people don't know. Like, like she wrote so many songs for it's just crazy to find out that she's been behind the scenes building other pop stars up for years. You know, and then this whole drunken, dirty white chick persona is something that she kind of pushes forward, but it's not really all her.
Well, that tends to happen with a lot of artists. If their career doesn't really go straight to #1 right away, they kind of get shelved and then become just writers for other artists.
Yep.
I can think of a handful.
I think that there's also a difference in Queen's music because the range and the complexity of it is so intriguing to people. I mean, the fact that Bohemian Rhapsody went as far and as high as it did is just shocking, you know, because it's incredibly long. It has, like, no recurring chorus except for, like, Nothing Really Matters at the end.
Yeah.
And it has, like, movements within it, you know? It's like, you don't actually get songs written like that these days, where it's, like, 8 minutes long, and it's got, like, 3 acts to it, you know?
Oh, yeah, you can't do that. It's got to be radio friendly. It's got to be 3-4 minutes long at most. It's got to fit. It's got to fit into a block of songs.
Right, and so I think there's something, I think that people just realized and recognized, like, immediately how incredibly intense and masterful that piece of music was. I mean, again, the fact that it had this whole big resurgence in the 90s, you know, the year after he passed away, I think was, you know, a tribute to that. I mean, like, you see people performing Bohemian Rhapsody, like, all the time. Even people who should not fucking sing it, singing Bohemian Rhapsody, and you know who you are, people. Yeah.
These are the same people that keep doing Baby Got Back every karaoke, and you just... because it's not rap, it sounds like they're reading a spoken word, like, poetry slam. I like
it's so true.
I cannot lie. Like, what are you, Dr. fucking Seuss? It's a rap song, yo. I totally feel you, dude. I love it.
But people love that fucking song. People love Bohemian Rhapsody so much.
And they want to do the electric slide while listening to it. I can't do it. I can't. It's not fair.
I'm guilty of performing it myself. I've done it at karaoke before, and I remember my first time I ever lip-synced in elementary school. There was like a lip-sync competition. I did Bohemian Rhapsody in 6th grade. I think that should have been a sign for the future. But
he was trying to tell you something. You were trying to tell them all something. That's what we want. That was
hello.
Did you have a rhinestone mechanic suit on?
What was that?
Remember when we were in university and we were on the bus to whatever thing they were doing, like in the first week, and everybody was singing Bohemian Rhapsody on the bus?
Yeah.
Were you in that bus?
I was in that bus.
Yes. And when they got to the awesome kick-ass like headbanging part and everybody was going nuts?
Yes.
That was cool. Out of nowhere, it was the weirdest thing that happened, but it was awesome.
It was great.
We got to. Were you at my birthday party when my parents came up, Greg? We were at the old Triangle. We got the entire bar to sing it. When did you show up late? Jeremy.
Me?
Oh, you guys see that? You guys see
I
that
thought
car?
you said Greg.
Everyone else is looking like, this is for Jeremy.
Oh, I don't remember. If I was either there and really drunk or not there yet.
You were really drunk when you showed up, so probably.
Okay. Or a mixture of both.
Yeah, we ended up getting the entire bar, which is like 3 levels, like 3 like kind of step levels, just ended up singing Bohemian Rhapsody along with us at the table.
Everybody loves that song.
Yeah.
That's super epic. It's a testament, another testament to how of the awesomeness.
Yeah.
It's purveying, cultural, generational.
What do you think the meaning of the song Bohemian Rhapsody is?
The meaning of the song?
I really think it's just coming out.
I think it's about. I thought it was about a guy who commits a horrible atrocity and then understands they have to deal with the consequences. Isn't that what it is?
That makes sense.
Yeah. I thought it was like somebody fighting an inner battle with themselves and destroying the person they used to be.
Oh, look at you getting all deep. Your beard is
Yeah,
full.
I do that sometimes.
Your beard is full of knowledge, Santa.
Touch the beard. Feel the beard.
Oh, like, he just pulling quotes out like, oh, it's about. Love it.
No, I think that there's a lot of ways to read it, and I think that I did see one of those 5 stages of grief variations of it. You know, like anger, denial, blah blah blah. Like kind of like analyzing the song as someone coming to acceptance with death, and how the different movements are that kind of processing of that of a death.
Someone pulling up, Phil?
Yeah, I'm trying to block my mic and it's
Yo,
not
Phil straight up lives in
outside.
man. Phil, you're lying, man. You live in the same neighborhood I do. You just have a field in front of you, because that only happens at everybody in my hood thinks their stereo is great, but it ends up sounding like mosquitoes trapped in a clock radio. I'm like,
Second, just gonna.
yo, Phil is a straight up G. I didn't know. I did not know. Capital G, bro.
He's on the run right now.
What you going in for? No, I want to hear like people get in an argument and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the next stereotypical thing to happen. Because if I go outside right now, oh, it's gonna be on.
We've talked a lot about Bohemian Rhapsody, but like, what other Queen songs are like perennial favorites for you guys?
Don't Stop Me Now.
I Want It All is my all-time favorite.
It's very anthemic. I don't know. I think that although he was an artist, he was also a businessman, because his choruses were easy and to sing along with, but his content was all in the verses, and it was deep and subversive. You know, like really get in there with you. I think Freddie knew he needed to write hits, but he didn't want to be stupid about it.
I think they knew they kind of became a arena band, so I think that kind of led to it.
Yeah.
To have kind of more anthems and that kind of stuff. Probably played better.
We Are the Champions being sung by your homophobic football team at your high school? Yeah, of course.
The Mighty Ducks. Mighty Ducks killed that.
I bet if the song We Are the Bottoms wouldn't have went over as well.
Oh man, it probably originally was.
We are the bottoms, my friends.
And we'll keep on riding to the end. I think it's all marketing. It's all marketing.
My
That,
favorite
in that video, that leotard was my favorite. The full white and black. And it got kind of like wiggly in the crotch area.
Yeah.
I was saying my favorite song was always Killer Queen.
Dude, that's underrated jam, dude.
Yeah, it's just a lot different from some of the other stuff, and a lot more bouncy, a lot more fun.
You almost had a guest star. I totally saw. I totally saw that. That's awesome, dude. Bro, they're bringing in guest stars. Come on in here. You can't be outdone. No, that's. I love you guys are pulling. You guys are pulling the like the nice obscure jams out, like the big arena ones, the quiet stuff. I think it's. I don't know. He just got more freedom. Like these days, I think if Queen came out these days as a band and just tried to do like they did before, I think that they would run into the problem of the always pervasive. Oh no, man, that's gay. I can't listen to that.
Well, except for like the remnants of Queen, like Brian May and the other folks, like joined with Adam Lambert, right? Like, okay, let's pick the gayest person that we've got on this
I know.
scene right now.
We need an electro pop goth guy who does Guyliner really well.
Well, it was almost like they tried to get other frontmen, and they didn't work. And so they were kind of just like, okay, I guess we need a gay dude. And it worked.
How do that works, though?
I hear they're great. I hear when he does shows, they're really awesome. Like I've only seen songs, but I guess it's worth a whole concert to kind of go. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not like when SDP was like, yeah, we tried that one dude for a while. You know, like it doesn't. It's like, okay, do any of you guys like Alice in Chains?
Yeah.
Okay. When they brought in the new Alice in Chains lead singer, and you closed your eyes, and it was fucking Lane Staley.
Yeah.
Like it was his voice is so close that it's weird.
Yeah.
And then you open your eyes, and you're like, oh my god, it's this cool black dude. Like no way. Like I was like, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like Adam could do those notes. He doesn't have to kind of practice to get the range. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got the voice. He's got the bit of the personality to be Freddie Mercury. He doesn't have 100% the je ne sais quoi that Freddie Mercury had, but he'll do.
Is that is that French? What?
That was America's Next Top Model term right there.
I think it was something about her on Drag Race or something, or Top Model,
It
probably.
was Top Model. It was Top Model, trust me.
This
That comment that you made about closing your eyes and listening and him sounding just like him. My father actually went and seen Queen way back in the day, and recently went and seen Queen with Adam Lambert. And he actually said that at one point he closed his eyes and just listened, and he felt like he was back in the 70s.
That's crazy. That's such an awesome experience. Like
Yeah.
I'm a concert goer. I like going to like see live shows, and I feel them, dude. Like that's crazy, dude. That's awesome. That's your money right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the worth it, because ticket sales are not getting any cheaper, man.
Mm-mm.
I mean, at this point, Ticketmaster is giving people their money back as I'm sorry. It's nuts. Who is now let's you guys want to get nerdy enough to talk about album production value?
I will.
Sure.
Okay, because I mean I'm kind of a nerd in that aspect. Like I dabble in guitar and I kind of look at that. At the time, it was very, very popular to make your album. A lot of producers kind of got 70s and like early 80s rock bands to make these gigantic, ridiculous, like albums that had like 17 guitars, super dubbed. Like I tried to learn a Boston song once, and I couldn't because there were 7 guitars in it. I'm like, there isn't even that many players in the fucking band. I tried to learn More Than a Feeling, and it was like months of like, why can't I get this sound right? This doesn't make sense. Queen kind of did that same thing, but on like a rock opera level. Like, you know what I mean? Like Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin would record, like, he'd have like 7 guitar parts in one song, and like Houses of the Holy made no sense if you were trying to learn how to play like just one riff. You had to dig through. But they had piano, they had like all these instruments. That influence, I think that it kind of influenced albums after that. Like people who made albums after that overdubbing. Like every 3-piece band you see really has a 4th member. You just don't see them. Like Green Day has a fourth guitar player. I mean, like has a second guitar player that you just don't know exists.
Yeah,
And
some friends were telling me they went to see Alkaline Trio, and there was somebody standing behind one of the amps performing.
yeah, dude. Like there's like I went to go see Everclear, and I was like, who the fuck is that extra dude over there?
Who the fuck remembers Everclear?
Guitar. What did some fan win a contest? Like I didn't get it.
But
But you know what? Talk like production value of Queen. Like the Night at the Opera, that album was way ahead of its time. They didn't even have the technology to record that album to get it to sound like it did. They had to like record 4 vocal tracks, and they were doing a guitar track at the exact same time.
Mm.
And every time they would do an instrument track, they would do 4 more layers of vocals.
Yeah. Pro Tools cut and paste didn't exist yet. Like there
They
was
only had 8-track recorders at that time.
It was what is it, like 48, they had access to 48-track analog, right?
Yeah.
Like there was no digital recording wasn't something that was going on until 80s metal, right?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, like, that was another thing, that A Night at the Opera was ridiculously over budget and incredibly late.
Yeah.
You know, like, they were working on that fucking album forever. But when it dropped, people were like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Like I've never heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
Well, every song on that album is just phenomenal. Like, Death on Two Legs is one of the perfect
headphones, you can hear things that you would never notice if you were listening in a car. You know, and it's crazy.
It's one of the last songs on the album. It's supposed to be like this, like kind of like 1920s, like swing band, and every sound on there is actually made by Brian May on his guitar.
That's crazy.
Like even like the drum beats and everything, it's all he manipulated like a bunch of stuff on his guitar to make every sound, make each instrument of like the swing Zydeco band.
It's so crazy that like that's I love it. I can totally build on that. They were doing an interview with the guys from Crazy Town, and not the best example, but it's the example I have. The guitar player said that when he learned how to play guitar and he was in bands, it was harder, but once he got a record deal, it almost became stupid. He said, I had to learn my own songs after recording them, because with Pro Tools, he would record the like a chord progression and play it once, play these like maybe six notes, stop, and they would paste it along the timeline. Then he would have to go and learn. Then he'd play a chorus. They'd paste it. Then he'd have to go and play along with his own music. And it's almost like you didn't really write a song. You just were messing around and happened to capture it. And that became the way to a lot of emo guitar players I knew from emo bands and punk bands at the time, who were like trying to emulate Thursday and From Autumn to Ashes and a lot of the bands that I kind of influenced by at the time. You had to learn your own music, and that people in bands like Queen were just like, oh, I wrote this song last week, and play the whole thing for you right there on an acoustic guitar, no problem. And like you're still learning how to play the rhythm of your own stuff. You know, I think it's like kind of like a dumbing down of the music a little bit. Not that it takes away from any creativity, because there are bands who use Pro Tools that are amazing. You know, I'm a big fan of the grunge bands. I'm a big fan of, you know, stuff like Deftones, stuff like that. And those people are amazing. You know, like Stephen Carpenter from the Deftones is still an amazing guitar player to this day. But he's not as good as, he's still not going to be as good as those analog dudes, because he's had the benefit of technology.
Technology's caused us to be lazy in most aspects of life, including...
It's hysterical, you know? Like, I learned how to play guitar from tablature, not from sheet music. I would still not know. I play Rocksmith, and I was like, oh, I can play this song now.
It's like I actually did learn music because I did play in band in high school and middle school for like 7 years. So I know how to read music. I know how to read it, but I can't like play the piano by reading all of those notes at once because I'm used to playing one note at a time.
Yeah.
And so, like, same thing with guitar. It's like, I can't fucking read sheet music for a guitar. It makes no sense to me. But a chord pattern, oh, yeah, I can do that and play something close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
See, yeah, as I'm telling you, sheet music, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I understand the concepts of it. Like, we only have 12 notes. The Middle Eastern is our notes, but doubled and split in half. Like, I get music theory, but I can't read, like, actual sheet music at all.
You know who else can't read sheet music? Is Tori Amos. Tori Amos cannot read sheet music at all.
Isn't that the name behind her first band's name?
Yes. Why can't Tori read? Yeah.
But when she performs live, it has two pianos, one tuned for the chorus and one tuned for the verse, and she plays Spark, and you want to lose your mind because she's like, and then gets to and spins to the other one and plays it, and like they have YouTube videos, you guys. If you've never seen the song Spark performed live, she uses two separate pianos, like. You know, it doesn't sound like much, but that's a lot of. I feel bad for her piano techs. Like, see guys running off stage with guitars, people are carrying in grand babies for her. Like, oh, let me roll your instrument in. Like, it's crazy. That's all. I like. That's good bringing Tori in like that because she doesn't need to read speech. She writes amazing weird stuff that adult gay males or 14-year-old girls absolutely love. And she doesn't need to read sheet music at all. He's crazy.
But a lot of these guys are classically trained. I think that Freddie went to school, like music school performance, and so he did know all of that, and he had that crazy, like, broad vocal range that I don't think hardly anyone has been able to replicate.
You could reach a full 8 octaves.
Four. Yeah,
okay.
4.
I thought I read 8.
No, I think that would be inhuman.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mariah Carey was like 4.75 with that. You know, when she was like doing her like I'm an R&B dolphin thing, like back in the day.
Used to be.
She's a little lower range now, right? But she's still not as bad as that Christmas performance made her look. She wasn't that bad. She had a cold.
Have either of you guys seen the opera that Freddie Mercury did? Barcelona.
No. Tell me about it.
Whoa.
Jeremy, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Jake mentioned it to me the other day. I heard about this, and I just started watching it this morning. Would you be able to describe it?
Well, it was kind of when Queen wasn't doing so well, like they weren't getting along, and he kind of went off and did his own thing for a bit. It was in around that time. It wasn't my favorite thing ever because I'm not an opera fan, but yeah, it was good. It was good for what it was.
I watched
but
a few.
I'm definitely not the best critic for it.
Yeah. I watched a few acts of it this morning, and it's pretty fantastic. Definitely something worth checking out.
Is it in English?
It's in English.
What are we now? Was he in it or did he help write it or?
He was in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like back in the day, like when you got celebrities, I guess to be part of something you're doing, I think they had more creative input than I guess a person would have these days.
Yeah.
Like, we just want you to stand there and sing, okay? We don't need any pointers. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what today would be.
Although he probably had a big hand in the writing of it as well.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't say to like one of the greatest people on earth, no, man, it's cool. I don't need any advice on this opera. Thanks. Just pump the brakes, bro. We just want you to wear a Viking helmet and yell. It's fine. We don't need.
What do you guys think about Sacha Baron Cohen playing him in a movie? Because they've been talking about that for a long time.
I think this could be a serious role for Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he could carry it because physically casting, it freaks me out. Like him and Freddie could pull off the Tom Selleck mustache and a few other really hot local dudes. But those two really, they can pull that off. Like, and they both, it looks, I know every time you think of Sacha Baron Cohen, all you know is this lime green nut thing that he wore. That was in, like that naked hotel fight. That's all you can think of, and I understand that, but I don't know. I think if you gave him a chance, I think it would be a breakout role for him.
I think it would be really cool. I think he could pull it off.
I think he's the one person that could do that.
I mean, casting is good. I think that because you want to see Freddie and not the actor. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you go to see, convincing us that you are this person is acting. You know what I mean? So
right. And I mean, I think that there's a level where you can get away with the visual aesthetic if you really pull and nail the personality. People are a little more forgiving if you don't exactly look like the person that you're trying to be. If you really get the persona right, but when it's both like perfectly in tune, it's just uncanny and cool.
Yeah, and thanks to Freddie Mercury, guys with big noses like me can get laid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's awesome.
Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'd actually be quite excited to see Sacha Baron Cohen as Freddie Mercury. That guy can actually sing. If any of you have seen Sweeney Todd, Tim Burton's version, like, he's got a great voice.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I was reading, they had him on Reddit doing a Ask Me Anything thing, and somebody had asked him when that movie was going to come out because they heard that it was going on, and he said it's never going to happen because of the surviving members of Queen. He said that they basically had a whole different idea as to what they wanted for the movie and as to what he wanted, because he kind of wanted it to be more focused on Freddie and kind of a lot of the lavish things that he did and kind of bring a lot of that to light, whereas they just wanted that to be kind of half of the movie, and then after Freddie's gone, just kind of how Queen has become even bigger and better than they were before. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. It didn't happen. And that's kind of why
biopic,
it fell apart.
Let it be a Freddie Mercury biopic. The surviving members of Queen are just like, but we're cool too. Like that just sounds so.
Okay, I'm gonna step in and say that Brian May is legitimately cool, and he actually does like animal rescue and stuff. Like,
he is cool,
he's very cool.
We're not dissing him. You see how Eric got real hot for a minute. He was like,
I just want to say.
I actually, the reason why I say this is because I am literally like 1 degree of separation from Brian May, and that my friend Doreen like works with him in England on this animal rescue team. So like I've got my close friend has pictures with Brian May, and so like. I know that he's a cool guy.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it's like if people are going to do a Freddie Mercury biopic, it's got to be about Freddie. If they do a Queen biopic, it's got to be about Queen. So whatever the title is should be what it's about. Like, Queen should play like it should be like 60-40. Let's say 60% Freddie, 40% Queen if it's a biopic. Because that's what he did. He's known for being in a band called Queens. That's gotta be the bulk of the movie. You know what I mean? That's kind of the basis. People knew him, but Queen is what is the reference point. Let's say. But yeah, no, your friend Brian is very nice. I'm so sure. We're gonna defend him.
One thing I always said about Brian May.
Close. It's fine.
One thing I always said, I was watching a documentary, and it was showing Roger Taylor and Brian May, and now that they're older, but it was showing Brian May just, like, tearing up this guitar solo, and I was just like, how cool would it be if you were, like, hanging out at your house, and you're like, oh, yeah, there's my dad just shredding this guitar solo. Like, it would be the coolest thing in the world.
Oh, yeah, your friends are all, like self-important jerks, and then you're like, oh yeah, watch this, Dad.
Exactly.
Your friend, like, I learned this new song from Nirvana. Yeah, really? Dad, come here.
Dad's Queen.
I can play Smells Like Teen Spirit. My dad can play like half the catalog of a decade. What's really?
It'll be amazing.
So we've covered cultural impact, political impact. Now, politically, do you think that there were people that were like on the enemy? I guess on the. Do you think that there were conservatives that were using Queen the way that conservatives used Ozzy Osbourne as a poster child, and Marilyn Manson? Was he ever the Marilyn Manson of his time?
I don't think so, because it was kind of almost hidden. Like it was.
Except for the rhinestone jumpsuit, right? That's.
But I
It was
think
the
he kept a
Cowboy
lot of
charts
it on the
that
run.
threw them off.
So he got it. I mean, was it as well hidden as we think, or was that? Are we thinking that people tuned it out on purpose and it was just Avi, or like why wasn't he an object?
I think because of the era. Think about rock in that era in general. It was so androgynous that they probably just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, because if you looked at Queen up against like even Motley Crue, they look way straighter than Motley Crue.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that gets me is Rob Halford. Come on, how no.
He basically wrote he basically wrote his albums with Tom of Finland's help. Like, everything was every show was like a leather fest. It just and it was like. You make chaps work, Rob.
But thinking about the time period, we're talking about the late 70s, glam, the early 80s, where it's like hair bands, androgyny, Prince, David Bowie, all of those people are part of the same scene. Elton John, for God's sakes. Elton John was, like, out of control. I mean, like...
He dressed like a duck.
There are so many like gender bending performers of that era that it didn't even kind of ring with anyone, I don't think.
Okay, because do you know about the 80s where they were testifying against the scourge of heavy metal?
Well, that was a whole religious bent to it, the Satanic Panic shit with like Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest and whatever else they were pulling out, Black Sabbath. That was all like, crazy right-wing Christian people like thinking that the devil was in the music. Queen was never that band, ever.
It's weird, right? Nobody ever questioned Queen. You know what I mean? The guys like Freddie Mercury's taking like BJ breaks between songs, and no one's saying anything. And Ozzy Osbourne's been banging chicks for Ev, and they're trying to like get him removed from radio. Like they're picking their battles. It was really weird that they didn't go after the obvious. Like how like every hardcore criminal thug home like any hardcore dude in the hood was like, yeah, Prince is good, man. Prince is good. And you're like, he's wearing purple fishnets. Like I don't understand how he's getting away with this.
Prince got away with everything. I mean, like, everything. But it was also because Prince wrote everybody's fucking music.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Prince was, talk about people who were behind the scenes. I mean, like, Prince wrote, like, 87,000 songs, and he was just like, oh, I don't need this. Here, you can have this, Sinead O'Connor. You can have this, like, other bands. Like, I don't need it. Like, I've got my own stuff, and I'm good.
Like, someone to him, he goes into a file cabinet. I had one lying around. Like, he just
kind
of...
Oh. I found this lying around. Here, have it.
Yeah, like, oh, this old thing? It's crazy that we talk about all these things, because I guess the main theme is Freddie got away with everything. And it's crazy. Like, you can't get away with walking down the street these days. Do you know what I mean? And he sold out millions. And I know that if he had admitted more, or when he admitted he was gay, I am going to say that his marriage may or may not, his suddenly dating a woman may or may not have something to do with the record company going, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're a cash cow and you're about to like kill your career. Because I mean, look what Coming Out did for Rupert Everett.
Mm. Well, and then, yeah. I mean, and that kind of homophobia in the music industry has been there forever. Same with any high-profile artistic endeavor. I mean, like, you're right. When people come out in Hollywood, they get shafted, literally and metaphorically. But I mean, it has ruined careers. I think that we're in a different era now,
Yeah.
and we're seeing more people coming out and being honest about their lives. Yeah.
The thing that I question about the relationship with the woman is what I've heard, what I was told from a lot of people, is that when he died, he left his entire estate to his best friend, who was a woman. So was that potentially like something that he had done to save his estate to make sure she was secure, pretend like he was in a relationship?
Or it's someone he trusts the most. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
I think that best friend was the woman he had dated, and
Could be.
they just were still friends afterwards. Probably once he was like, "I'm gay, I can't do this."
Yeah, and she was probably like the sister he never had, kind of thing.
Mm,
So she generally looked out for him, and he could trust her.
right.
See, I'm feeling you. The bestie, you know. It makes sense, you know. The gay, again, another first. Freddie popularized the gay guy with the girl best friend. He popularized that entire culture movement.
Beard.
Freddie was sitting at the girls' table in high school. He made it cool. He made it the thing to do. I unfortunately, I've never gotten a chance to be the gay in the gaggle of chicks. I always wanted to. There were just never enough chicks around, apparently. It's total sausage fest at my high school. I don't know what to say.
Should have gone to your high school.
Yeah, it sounds good at first.
I'm sure it's just across the field, Phil.
Got the Field of Dreams going on across from his house. I'm telling you, it's gonna be. You build it, they'll come, man. It's true. I've seen that movie like 7 times.
Going back to to some of the imagery, though, do you think there was a message that he was putting in some of the videos, like such as imagery in "I Want to Break Free" or "Crazy Little Thing Called Love"?
So
Yeah.
one funny thing that I read or saw in this documentary was that their popularity in the States went way down after "I Want to Break Free," the video came out. They lost a lot of popularity. And I was watching an interview with Freddie Mercury, and they kept asking him about, like, oh, is "I Want to Break Free" about you coming out and that kind of stuff, and he was like, I didn't even write this song. It was James Deacon, the bass player, who wrote it about his wife being a housewife and just wanting to break free of being at home all the time. And he was just like, it's not even my song. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, people are looking for that littlest thing. They're like, oh, I know. You know, it's the music theorists are looking for the tiniest thing to jump on. When did that song come out?
84?
So we were in the grip of the AIDS epidemic at the time. So I'm sorry to say grip. That's actually ironically fucked up that I say grip. If you guys know, they call it gay-related immunity
Disorder or something.
Yeah. So it's, but like, in 1984, having a nice opinion of gays was not going to be kosher, socially for you.
Yeah.
You know, people still thought you could get AIDS from sharing a straw at that point. So it was really probably a bad time for him to talk at all about gay liberation at that point.
Well, even like that video alone, like you have the cross-dressing imagery, but there's like after that scene when he's rolling around in a cow printed leotard or a
Oh, God. Yes.
Leotard. There's nothing
Why do you
straight
say that
about
to us?
leotard. I'm trying to just. I'm usually one of those people that prescribes orientation of clothing, but we're talking about a leotard here. It's very, very hard to be Conan in a leotard. It's hard, man. It's not. It's really not. It's a lot of work, bro. It's great. You can see everything. I can tell people's religion in a leotard. It's nuts. it's crazy.
Like there's that one. There's like the whole hyper mask, the hyper masculine image that he has, and it creates a little thing called Love as well, where he's coming out there with like the workers uniform and the Tom of Finland uniform as well. And then there's also the video for Jeremy? What was the last song that they released? Where he wanted to show show the world that he was dying.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was nuts.
It's
that
pretty
was a
creepy.
tough one to watch. I forget what it's called though. Shit.
These are the days of our lives.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, but that was a big thing. I guess he just wanted to show like this is real and this is what happens.
Yeah.
I guess I think a lot of people were under the impression that it wasn't real. Like a lot of gay people he had said before were saying that it was something the government was making up to make them not be gay.
Yeah, the big theory. The big like conspiracy theory, like it's not. Yeah, there's a lot of them. What is that? That HIV was released into the population through an Hep C vaccine at the time. Like things like that. Like there's a lot of stuff. I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
Either made it up or and then once they made it up, now that people were dying, it was they invented it in a lab.
Well, that was he said that that's what he thought until he actually got it. And he was just like, fuck. But I also remember seeing an interview of him in the 80s, and they asked him what Freddie Mercury was going to be like when he's an old man. And he was just like, I won't live to be an old man. But he didn't say why, but it was chilling to watch now, knowing what happened.
Yeah, he was like, nah, dude, there's not going to be an old man.
Because I think he was trying to play it off like I party too hard and I'm crazy and I do shit that I won't be old.
Well, that begs the question, when did he find out that he had AIDS?
I think it was maybe 87, 88, and around there. I think the members of Queen said, like, they knew he had told them shortly after.
Yeah, because it's once you find out and diagnosed, there's that period where you don't want to tell anybody, but you have to. Kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I could imagine him kind of keeping it to himself for a good majority until he's like, I got to tell these guys. This is my family. I got to tell them. You know, that kind of thing. Right.
And is that around the time that he started doing his solo stuff? Like, there must be more to life than this and all of that? Like, yeah. That's clearly inspired by his disease, but, do you figure what separated the band?
I don't know. I don't think he actually told them yet, but it probably played on him. But I think when he told them when he was closer to dying, he probably told them when it was. But when they came back together.
Yeah, and I can imagine them being mad at him for being like, why'd you shut us out? That kind of thing. Like, we're your friends. Could have told us today it happened, or because a lot of times when something tragic like that or something shocking like that happens, people's reactions are always messed up at first. They get mad, or they're like, you could have told me earlier, but then you realize what you're saying out loud, and you're like, oh, this person basically at the time found out that they were going to die. They weren't told, oh, you're going to be living with a condition. At the time it was, you're going to die.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
the research was not out there for it was a 100% a death sentence at that point.
I can see Freddie Mercury being a little selfish with his time. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, I was going to sit down and have a tier with you guys, but I wanted to go write 6 albums and go to a beach. You know what I mean?
They had the band was actually very cool because
Yeah.
once they found out, they were like, "Let's make as much music as we can," because that's what Freddie Mercury wanted to do, was just write as much as he could, so that would live on at least.
Well, that's kind of what Bowie did too when he found out he had cancer.
Yeah.
Just went back in the studio and started working on new music and the musical and all of that. So
Yeah, because now you have like that. Now you have a real deadline. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like I'd like to get the album out by April. May. This is coming out by May. You know, there's no
Exactly.
like no pressure. I just I'll just
Right, so just want to point out that Eric's computer just crashed, and he didn't just drop the conversation. He has his computer did just crash. He's just informing that. So he's not going to be joining. He's not going to be rejoining back to the competition. As he's busy. So he said continue without us. Continue without him.
All right. Well, I didn't take it personal or anything. We didn't, diss anybody. Like, just want you guys to know, when we were making fun of his favorite guitar player, he bounced. No, it's not. Not what happened at all.
That is so what just happened. I read between the lines.
You know, it's like vague booking. He just drops right out. I don't know who this is for.
They're insulting my friend.
See, I love. Okay, so we've I think we've done it. We've done some justice here, right? We've covered the political side of his influence and Queen as a band. We've talked about Queen as a band's influence on music as a whole. Freddie's influence on like pretty much hundreds and thousands of aspiring artists who've come out. The fact that you can drop Queen and Freddie Mercury as an influence and it's totally taken seriously. What haven't we? Just so all the fans, what haven't we covered? Facilitator, right? That would be that would be Derek, right? He's facilitating.
We have covered pretty much the cultural impact of Queen.
Yeah.
The political side of Queen versus other bands who were being a bit more ostracized.
Yeah.
We covered the history of Freddie Mercury, his personal history, his songwriting, and what it was like to be gay and HIV positive around in that era where it was an awful thing. I think we've done some justice here.
All right. We talked about his clothing. We keep harping on his onesies.
Leotards.
Yeah, we some of us love his leotards. Some of us are like, bro, it was a onesie. Come on, seriously.
You can bring back leotards.
This is a mechanics uniform with rhinestones. He got a bedazzler and just went insane. Like this is basically.
He invented the bedazzler.
I feel like these are my big points, like in terms of talking about Freddie and stuff. But I guess I'm going a little dry here, so I'm going to depend on you guys to bring up some new stuff right now.
We touched on everything here. What do you guys think?
It's really good.
Yes. So we're going to wrap that up. So we'll wrap things up here. So guys, thank you guys very much for joining. And again, we have a launch of our store yesterday. So go to our Men of the Den Facebook, check out some of the merch we have, and you should.
Oh my God! Seriously, you guys.
Bill has done an awesome job doing the design of the new logo and of the clothing, so definitely check that all out. And some of the videos from this week where we discussed other queer icons, films, and whatnot from gay pop culture throughout our history. Right, so we start top 10 this week, starting next week. So, guys, stay tuned, and thank you very much for tuning in.
Yep. Oh, and don't forget to vote, because I'm going to convince Phil to call his company Ill Phil Creations. I think it's so dope. I've been using it for a while. And I really hope that he's into the idea, you guys. So hit up Phil on Facebook and convince him with a vote for yay for Ill Phil Creations. I think it's a great name. I've been sitting on it for 2 weeks. I've been waiting.
You should have let me know earlier when I set up the account.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap. See you guys later.
Woo-hoo!